Tonight, somewhere, a group of friends will light a fire in a backyard. They will stop talking. They will stare into it. Nobody will tell them to. But the real reason you cannot look away from fire is far stranger than you think. You have felt it yourself. A candle burns on a table and your eyes drift toward it mid conversation. A campfire crackles and the whole group goes quiet. You're not bored. You're not distracted. Something older than boredom is happening inside you. For most of human history, fire was not decoration, it was survival. It kept predators at a distance. It cooked food your body could not digest raw. It stretched the day past sunset, giving your ancestors hours that no other animal on the savannah had ever owned. Fire did not just warm bodies, it rearranged the entire rhythm of being human. Harvard biological anthropologist Richard Wrangham has spent decades arguing that cooking, made possible by fire, physically reshaped the human body. Cooked food is easier to digest. That meant less energy spent on digestion and more available for something else, your brain. Wrangham's cooking hypothesis suggests that fire did not just feed early humans. It may have helped grow the very organ you are using to understand this sentence right now. Think about that for a second. Fire helped build your brain. Is it really so surprising that your brain still responds to fire like nothing else on Earth? But the story does not end with digestion, it gets stranger. Before fire, night was simply dangerous. Predators moved in darkness with senses built for it. Early humans had no such senses. Darkness meant hiding, freezing, waiting for sunrise. Fire changed the rules of night itself. For the first time, a group of humans could sit together, awake, safe, and visible to one another after the sun went down. And once humans were safe at night, something happened that had never happened before. They talked. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent years studying the Juhuansi, a hunter-gatherer community in the Kalahari desert, whose way of life still echoes ancient patterns. She recorded what people talked about during the day compared to what they talked about at night, around fire. Daytime conversation was practical. Complaints, negotiations, disputes, logistics. Nighttime firelight conversation was almost entirely different. Stories, myths, jokes. Talk about people who were not present. Talk about the dead, the spirits, the distant past. Wiesner's research, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, suggested that firelight did not just extend the day, it created an entirely new kind of human conversation, one built for imagination instead of survival. Firelight, in other words, may be the birthplace of storytelling. Sit with that. Every campfire ghost story, every bedtime tale, every myth passed down before writing existed, may trace back to light flickering on a cave wall thousands of generations ago. You were not taught to love stories by fire. You may have been shaped by it. So your body remembers fire as safety. Your mind may have been built, in part, by the conversations fire made possible. But there is a third layer to this, and it lives in your nervous system directly. Christopher Lynn, an anthropologist at the University of Alabama, ran an experiment most people have never heard of. He measured blood pressure in participants before and after they watched a fire, not a wildfire, not a dangerous one, a calm, contained, ordinary flame. Their blood pressure dropped significantly. The longer they watched, the greater the drop. Lynn's study, published in Evolutionary Psychology Research, proposed something remarkable. Watching fire may trigger an automatic relaxation response in the human body, one your ancestors may have relied on nightly for hundreds of thousands of years. Why would evolution wire relaxation directly to firelight? Because a fire meant something specific to your ancestors. It meant the threats of the day were being managed. Predators were held back. Food was being prepared. The group was gathered. Fire was not just light. Fire was a signal that said, for now, you are safe enough to rest. Your nervous system may still be listening for that signal today. A candle at dinner, a fireplace in winter, a bonfire on a beach. None of these are necessary for your survival anymore, but your body may not know that. It only knows the pattern: flame, warmth, stillness, safety. This is where things get genuinely strange. You're not choosing to stare into fire the way you choose to check a phone or read a headline. Fire gazing appears to bypass conscious decision making almost entirely. It reaches something older, something installed long before language, long before choice as you understand it. Consider what this means for a species that no longer needs fire to survive. You have electricity, you have furnaces, you have locks on your doors, and street lights outside your window. And yet you still light candles for dinners. You still build bonfires on beaches that have no predators. You still gather around fire pits in backyards that are already perfectly safe. Why would a species build entire industries around simulating something it no longer needs? Maybe because usefulness and craving are not the same thing. You do not stare into fire because you need it. You stare into it because something in you still remembers needing it, generation after generation, for far longer than you have existed as an individual person. There's something almost moving in that. Every time you feel your shoulders drop in front of a fireplace, you are not simply relaxing. You may be replaying a signal that helped your ancestors survive the night, long before anyone wrote it down, long before anyone understood why it worked. And this pattern is not limited to fire alone. Look closely and you will find it everywhere in modern life. Sugar and fat were rare and valuable for most of human history, so your brain rewards them intensely, even now that they are cheap and abundant. Faces held survival information about danger and belonging, so your brain still scans crowds and screens for them, even when nothing depends on it. Fire is simply one of the clearest examples of a much larger truth. Your body is still running programs written for a world that no longer exists. You are, in a very real sense, walking around with instincts built for campfires while living in a world of light switches. That gap between old wiring and new environment might explain more than fire gazing. It might explain why silence around a screen feels different from silence around a flame. Screens flicker too, but they do not breathe the way fire does. They do not shift shape with air currents. They do not carry warmth against your skin. Fire is unpredictable in a way your ancestors' minds evolved to track closely, and that tracking oddly produced calm rather than anxiety, because unpredictability that stayed contained was itself a form of good news. So the next time you find yourself staring into a flame at a barbecue, or losing 10 minutes to a fireplace video with no sound, know that you are not doing nothing. You are participating in one of the oldest rituals your species has ever practiced, a ritual that helped build your brain, shaped your earliest stories, and may still be quietly lowering your blood pressure without asking your permission. Tonight, when that group of friends goes quiet around the backyard fire, none of them will know why, but now you do. It is not fire holding your attention, it is hundreds of thousands of nights stacked inside you, still waiting by the light.